Welcome to the Personal Tanya Game Changing Insights into the Daily Tanya, Day 8. Today, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever thought of kissing a book? Now, if you're Jewish, you're probably familiar with kissing a book. Whenever a Torah book falls to the ground, we instinctively give it a kiss. We often kiss a book. But think of other cultures, other nations. Do they kiss a book? Do you know anybody else that kisses a book? How about dancing with a book? Do you know anybody that would dance with a book? Imagine walking into the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., going into the chambers of the justices and finding them dancing around the table, holding the Constitution. Ay, 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 da, da, da. It's a little strange to dance with a book. You read a book, but to dance with a book, to kiss a book, it's a little strange. Yet we Jews, that's exactly what we do. Because in today's Tanya, we learn that the definition, the essence of Torah, is not just a book of wisdom. It is the essence of God captured within a text. What God has done in the Torah is that God has actually given us a piece of himself, a piece of his essence infused into a text that we can read and understand because God desired to have a relationship with us. This is something that's only possible to happen in this world. No other world is able, no other spiritual world is able to experience this. So, for example, before birth, a soul before entering a body, or after we die, a soul after leaving this world. In the world of angels, they don't have freedom of choice. They're not able to actually choose to comply with a mitzvah, which is the will of God, or to study Torah, which is the wisdom of God, the essence of God, because like we learned yesterday, Torah and God are one. This is the reason why we celebrate this book. Our relationship with Torah is not just as a book of wisdom, of wonderful, insightful, helpful information. The Torah is God's essence. It's how we connect with the Almighty. The Torah is the bridge to the divine. It's what shatters the glass ceiling to allow us to break free from our limitations to become unlimited, from a finite life and a mortal life to an infinite life and an immortal life as we become one and connected with God Almighty through the bridge that God gave us. It's this ladder that God has given us, and that is the Torah, the wisdom of God, and the mitzvahs, the 613 commandments, which is the will of God. And that's the reason why we dance with the book and why we kiss the book of Torah. It's not just a book of wisdom. What's interesting also is that this is only possible in this world. But Torah and mitzvahs don't happen in any other spiritual world. That's why you'll never find the Jews saying about someone who died that they're in a better place. Other religions, other cultures might say that they aspire to go to heaven. But as Jews, we don't aspire to go to heaven. This world is where we want to be because our purpose is not to be spiritual. Our purpose is to be holy, to be one with God Almighty. And God has decided that it's only in this world that we can have an intimate connection with God Almighty. Only down here in this physical, spiritually dark world is where we can connect with the divine. And that's an amazing mindset shift where we realize that the purpose of life lies in this world. We're not trying to escape this world. We're not looking forward to leaving this world. Okay, we understand that when you die, you go to heaven, fine. But heaven is a consolation prize. It's not an aspiration. It's not where we are trying to reach, because as Jews, we're not trying to be spiritual. It's in this physical world where we know that we can experience intimacy with God Almighty. And that's because Torah and mitzvahs are the keys to eternity. They're the keys to connecting with God Almighty. And the Tanya explains that just like when you hug someone, it doesn't matter if they're wearing a coat or two coats or a coat and a scarf and gloves. It's the same person that's giving you the hug. So when you're connecting with God in an embrace through the study of Torah, even though God is enrobed, enclosed in the various examples or metaphors or analogs of the Torah, so maybe God is enclosed in the wisdom of Torah, in the case studies and in the discussions and the arguments and the debates, which are on every page of the Talmud. That's just a robe which doesn't mitigate the presence of the person inside of the robe. In this case, that doesn't mitigate the presence of God Almighty, who is just clothed inside of the Torah. An amazing and inspirational, beautiful concept. And that's the reason why we Jews are so meticulous with the Torah and the mitzvahs. We're so careful because we know only when they're done exactly right, that's when we're fulfilling the will of God. Only when we understand the Torah exactly the way it was intended are we connecting with God's essence. But if we are lazy, or if we try to make our own invented interpretations of Torah or mitzvahs, then we've bastardized the essence over here. And it's no longer God's Torah. It's no longer God's will. It's our own manifestation. And that's why we're so careful with being so careful with the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvahs. One last point is in our community here in Palm Beach, people are a little bit older and they often spend a lot of time thinking about retirement or experiencing retirement. And they're wondering what to do with their golden sunshine, golden years of their lives. Some play golf, some play pickleball, and other interesting volunteering opportunities. But perhaps what the Tanya is teaching us today is that the best use of one's time, a use of time which is far above and beyond any other use of time, is when we experience infinity through the study of Torah and the observance of mitzvahs, the absolute best use of our time. Thank you very much. Let's give it all we got.